Today on The Boot Guy, we are looking at the ARIAT Square Toe Comp Toe Overdrive Pull-On Western Style Work Boot. Gentlemen, all you guys out there know who watch the Boot Guy reviews, you guys understand. You guys who follow me on Instagram, you guys who follow me on Facebook know that I really do love pull-on boots. I love Western boots. Even with the fact that I'm a city boy, I still just love the look, the aesthetic of Western boots. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a classic James Dean fan in me. I don't know. That whole John Wayne, all that stuff just coming into a pair of boots. Something like that, right? The Overdrive. Now, I really love this boot out of the box, but as I wore it for the last 6 weeks, on and off, not every day, this is not an everyday boot for me. As I was wearing it, I developed a few things about this particular boot that I just didn't like in comparison to other ARIAT work boots that I've worn in the past. So hold off to the end of the video. First, let's go through all the finer details of this beautiful boot, because it is a beautiful boot. And then we're going to get to my personal thoughts and feelings on this particular pair of boots. All right, so we got to start with the sole. DuraTread sole armed with an ATS Max shank. These things working together with this X-Guard pattern are extremely important when it comes to durability on this boot, because the durability really does stem from the sole. ARIAT, when it comes to building work boots, they build them from the ground up. They build them from the sole, then they build the toe section, then they build the arch and the heel, and then they work up into the whole aesthetics of the boot. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to make a comfortable work boot that still has some style. But in order to build something that's comfortable on your foot, you got to start low. So DuraTread sole, yeah, we've talked about DuraTread over the last, I don't know, 35 reviews I've done on ARIAT pull-on boots, that the DuraTread sole is an excellent long wearing material. And just by looking at this thing, only wearing it for 6 weeks, you know, a few days a week, there's no wear in it. I mean, it might be dirty, but there's no actual wear. There's nothing that shows that I've worn this really outside of probably just kicking around in it, but it's just great. So the DuraTread with that super soft midsole, they use this EVA stuff in the midsole, which makes this super bouncy. So every step you take, there's an energy return. And ARIAT's really famous for that, for having that bounce that only they can do. Now, it is a matter of a few different things that brings that bounce back to your body, that you get to notice it and feel it. And those are DuraTread, EVA, and of course, an ATS insole, which makes everything better. Okay, so the Overdrive, the welting process, it is a Goodyear welt, but don't let this Goodyear welt fool you. This is not about having this boot resoled. A Goodyear welt in a boot like this is more for durability. By adding a Goodyear welt, what they're doing is they're building the sole out so you actually stand over the sole. That's really important. When you're using a boot like this, whether you're standing in one place doing hours and hours of control work or wiring or whatever you're doing, having yourself being able to get a good strong platform is really important. That's why you look for welted boots. If you're in that line of work where you're standing on a ladder for a really long time, where you need that support, always look for a Goodyear welt. So this Overdrive, full Goodyear welt all the way around the boot, so you're getting great support, you're getting a great platform to stand on. Now, the one thing that does stand out in the Overdrive is when you got these babies on and you got your jeans rolled up over them, or however you're wearing your work boots, is the toe, are the side sections, all this hard rubber, the stuff in the heel, this just reinforcement that stands out. And yes, guess what? It works, it's there. This is gonna keep you from tearing through the front. Remember, this is a comp toe. These boots are EH, so electricians, you guys who work in HVAC, anybody who's around electricity, yes, this is a OSHA certified EH boot, and that is really important because we know how foremen can be. Those guys who walk around with clipboards who think they know how to do your job because they read it in a book. This boot's gonna pass all their little stupid tests and you're still gonna be safe and comfortable. All right, so let's talk about the leather. Let's talk about the leather in the foot and the leather on the shaft. The shaft, at first glance, does look like vinyl, but it's not. It is just a really well-processed leather. This bottom leather, this stuff that exists in the foot sections of the boot, this is a beautifully roughed out oil absorbing type leather that, as you can tell, as you start to wear them, they get a little age in them and they just look a heck of a lot better. They look like your favorite pair of boots in a matter of no time because, well, you got your pants rubbing them, you've got the grease from whatever you're doing getting in them, and everything just rubs in and soaks in really nice and they start to patina if you're worried about how your boots look. If you're worried about how your boots are going to handle abrasions and whatnot, yes, the leather is extra thick, extra strong, and it can take some pretty good bumps. I got a few cuts in mine here from sharp ends of conduit, but it's not a big deal. It didn't completely penetrate. Even though some of those pieces were not filed, little abrasion, no big deal. The boot's still going strong. All right, so I already pointed out the ATS insole, and I've talked about this insole. I have a video completely dedicated to this insole because I love this insole. So this insole being inside this boot makes this boot so much better. Now, inside the boot, what you're gonna find in the shaft and in the vamp's gonna have a cotton material, which just helps with, perspiration. It helps with drying out the boot quicker. In the shaft of the boot, you're going to find a quick dry polyester wicking material. So as the heat starts to come up from your foot, as you start to get sweaty in your socks, it's going to suck up into here and it's going to push out through the shaft. That is a beautiful, beautiful part of this boot, is that even on the hottest days, even standing in the hottest environments, 90 degrees plus, next to generators, you're not going to feel like you're sweating your ass off. This is a beautiful design when it comes to thermal dynamics of a boot. So something that ARIAT always pushes on their boots is they use the U-turn system on their boots, which allows you to get your boot on and off without a boot jack, which work boots. Yeah, really important. Cutting, grinding, welding, slag falls into your boot, you want to get it off as quickly as you possibly can. U-turn makes that possible, and it really does work. So something I forgot to mention, which is also important, is the heel is a 90-degree heel. So if you're working in one of those places where they require not only to have a shank, a safety toe, and a 90-degree heel, the OverDrive fits all that criteria perfectly. And I gotta say, having a 90-degree heel, standing on a ladder for more than an hour, just having that right there so you can kind of rock back and forth, so you can get the support of the shank. You can feel the full thing out, and you can also just feel that heel as you're walking. That's pretty damn nice. And it being a Western boot with a defined heel just makes it more of a Western style boot. Just gives it that comfort. If you're used to wearing pull-on Western boots, having that heel is really nice. All right, so it's time to talk about the two things that I don't like about this boot. Now, primarily, the first thing is the fact that it's a pull-on boot, and there are certain people who cannot wear this boot. No matter how much you love them, there are certain jobs you're doing where you cannot wear this boot as an everyday boot. And that being a mover. If you're somebody who moves things on dollies, on hand carts, on trucks, and you're pushing things, whether it's across a flat plane or up and down ramps, the thing you're going to notice is that as you start to push on an angle because nobody pushes straight off their toes. We always kind of plant ourselves. We've got a stronger predominant leg. We got a stronger side of our body. We plant that side and we push. You're going to notice that you're going to start to twist the boot. And if you're moving a ton of shit in one day, and if you're moving a ton of equipment in one day, no matter what it might be, no matter what the weight is, you are going to start to feel the comp toe cutting in. You're going to start to feel some of that support go away. Now, this is an extremely supportive boot. It really is. They really have designed it really nice through the arch and the heel, and everything stays in place. But putting that kind of lateral pressure on anything that doesn't have laces that you can't strap yourself into, you're going to start to degrade it a little bit quicker than you would if you had a lace-up boot. All right, so now here's the second thing, and this is probably only because of this single pair of boots. I'm not going to say this goes across the gamut on all the boots, but this is the one thing that I found with this pair of boots. It's the first and only time with a pair of ARIAT boots that I've had this happen. For some reason, as I'm walking around in this particular pair of boots, whether it's the U-turn or just the shape of the heel, it pulls my sock down into the boot. So I can probably walk maybe 100 steps, maybe 200 steps, and my sock starts to draw down. Now, as you guys can see from my try-on sections of this video, I'm wearing the Farm to Feet tall hunting socks when I wear my pull-on work boots. I like a nice tall sock that's above the shaft. Even with those beautiful socks that go all the way over my calf, beautiful wool, they are still being pulled down. So I think it's primarily this single pair of boots because I've worn those socks. I've worn it with my other pull-on boots. I have not had a problem. But if that is something that you guys are experiencing with whether it be the OverDrive or any other pull-on boot, please comment below and let other guys know. Let's talk about that little tiny issue. All right, so now that we got all that nitpicking out of the way, what do you say we take a minute and just take a look at what these things look like coming on, going off, and just walking around them because they are a beautiful looking boot. So that's the OverDrive Comp Toe Pull-On Work Boot from ARIAT. Hey guys, if you're currently wearing a pair of the OverDrives, please comment below. Let other guys know what you love about them, what you hate about them. And hey, just for shits and giggles, just for kicks, what do you say you let us know how long they lasted you? Guys, don't forget you can always follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter, and you can also follow me on Facebook. Now, if you're trying to contact me, please use Instagram. It's the one service I've been using more so than any other because it's on all day, it's running on my phone, and when you got a question, it doesn't pollute in my email section. It just comes out on Instagram. It's much easier for me to answer your questions there. Hey, if you're about to pick up your first pair of pull-on work boots and you've got a few questions about fit, size, whether or not it's right for your job, if you're a mover or a beer delivery guy and you want to wear pull-on boots, will they be good boots for you? If these questions exist, feel free to shoot me over a question on Instagram. All right, until the next time, I'm the Boot Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.